Liz Truss's forays into foreign policy, quite apart from her time as Prime Minister, demonstrate her inability and why she should never be holding high office again. And her Foreign Office time is typified by two infamous missteps: her misstatement about Rostov-on-Don and her call for a foreign legion of British fighters in Ukraine. First, as Foreign Secretary, when she confused Rostov, a Russian city already embroiled in geopolitical sensitivities, as if it were in Ukraine. Such an error, elementary to those well briefed on Eastern European geography, not only underscored her lack of foundational knowledge, but also risked offence with a casual disregard for the actual borders involved in front of Sergei Lavrov, a seasoned veteran. Then there was her extraordinary call on national television for British citizens to join the fight in Ukraine. Let me play
President
it for you.
Zelensky has asked for people from abroad to join an international force. Would you support that?
I do support that, and of course that is something that people can make their own decisions about. But they are fighting. The people of Ukraine are fighting for freedom and democracy, not just for Ukraine, but for the whole of Europe, because that is what President Putin is challenging. And absolutely, if people want to support that struggle, I would support them in doing that.
So you support Britain, people from Britain going over to Ukraine to help in the fight?
Absolutely, if that's what they want to do.
This notion that British citizens should go to Ukraine and fight is as reckless as it was ill-considered. Beyond ignoring the legal complexities that prohibit unauthorised foreign military service, she overlooked the consequences under long-standing UK laws, such as the Foreign Enlistment Law in 1870, the provisions in the Terrorism Act in 2000, the government's swift backtracking clarifying that British citizens entering such conflict zones could face prosecution, underscored the legal and ethical implications she had blithely disregarded because of her rank stupidity. And it's that rank stupidity that continues smiling into the abyss. We cannot afford to have somebody like Liz Truss hanging around even on the sidelines at such a dangerous period in history. The enduring issue is Truss's reluctance to recognise her lapses. She appears quick to deflect, to blame institutions, to claim unfair obstruction, rather than to acknowledge her own missteps. And notice I haven't said anything at this moment about her adoration of Kwasi Kwarteng's prodigious package and her flighty disdain for the basic principles underpinning the budget and and taking advice. Her pattern, whether it's targeting the Bank of England or over her mini-budget or rallying against wokery, reveals a politician who dives into matters without sufficient grasp of either the complexities involved or the expertise required. It's a recklessness that only continues to undermine her credibility. But, and this is the decisive factor, I'm afraid Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch have both got a touch of the Liz Truss about them. They are both equally lazy when it comes to doing their homework. They both don't take care over the details. So I was saying I think there's four acts that are broken by her claim that people should enlist in the Foreign Legion in Ukraine. First, the Foreign Enlistment Act in 1870, which makes it illegal for UK citizens or subjects of His Majesty to enlist in military service in a foreign state at war with a state with which the UK is technically at peace. Secondly, the Terrorism Act of 2000. It's illegal for UK citizens to be involved in terrorist activities, which can include joining foreign militias or groups which are not officially recognised. And the broad definition of terrorism could potentially apply to individuals fighting in foreign wars. 3. The Counter-Terrorism and Security Act of 2015, which she was in Parliament for. And this act allows the UK government to seize passports and prevent people from travelling to certain conflict zones if there's any suspicion they may engage in fighting activity or terrorism. While this has been used more frequently for cases involving terrorism in the Middle East, the principles could apply to someone suspected of joining an unlawful military group. And finally, the Criminal Justice and Courts Act in 2015, Section 56. Under this act, participation in a conflict involving a foreign state without lawful excuse could be criminal. In practice, this provision could be used to prosecute those who joined unauthorized foreign military units. So no matter how much one may support Ukraine, no matter how much one may want to go out to Ukraine, for example, to report on Ukraine, and I think people should, I think it's really important that we take notice of what is happening in Ukraine at the moment and what is happening in Russia at the moment. But fighting is another matter. And Liz Truss's disdain for the proper regulations, some of which she was in Parliament to help enact, demonstrates why she should never have been holding any of the top offices of state. And the fact that she cannot see today her error demonstrates why she should not be given any platform. The fact that Jenrick and Badenoch look as if they're making the same sort of mistakes, similarly look as if they don't do their homework, and Liz Truss is somebody who said that she wanted everything on one side of A4, I'm not surprised she is ill-informed. But equally, I worry that Jenrick and Badenoch have taken a page out of her copybook. The reason the Senate gets its name in ancient Rome is because the word Senate is derived from the word senex, which means old man. And although it had to wait until the reforms of Sulla, the dictator, who sort of enshrined in law the idea that the Senate should be something that you could only join after you had started the cursus honorum, this ladder up to the higher magistrates. The fact that Sulla put this into effect, it is something that we should reflect on. And when we look to the House of Lords and we see people who are appointed into the House of Lords at the age of 28, we should think there is something wrong here, because the idea of law, the idea of Parliament, is that it reflects that idea of the Senate, of the older people who've already got a career, who've already had a career, sitting down to ruminate and to think how to make things better. It's not the place for young people. And I think both Badenoch and Jenrick demonstrate again and again that they are too young to know quite what they are doing. And certainly, Liz Truss behaved with an immaturity that is simply laughable, as indeed did Kwasi Kwarteng. And Kwasi Kwarteng cannot be faulted for his intelligence. Simply his immaturity and his arrogance.